It's time to dad.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Time to Dad. Thanks for joining us tonight, today, this afternoon, whatever time you're listening or watching. I'm here with the triumphant return of Jason, JT, and Nick. We missed the episode last week. We just had too much crap going on. It's a busy time of year. So sorry about that. We skipped a week. You'll be okay, I think. But anyways, Jason, what's up, man? I'm glad you made it back on an episode. I know it's been a hot minute. How's things going?
Triumphant. Yeah. It's been good. I needed some away time, some mental time, not from the show, really from everything. You can't take mental away time from everything when you're a dad, so I just kind of made it real simple, recalibrated with just work and the kids. And I told you guys last time, a long time ago, I had completely revamped my career and started over with a different sales job. And that's like, I think we're getting close to like the 90-day mark on that. And that's been a lot. It's kind of that transition, A, totally different industry, B, different company setting, place of where they're at corporately. It's just like, although the more things change, the more they stay the same. I came from a dealership that was switching over ownership and switching into a new building. And now I'm at a fire alarm company on a much smaller scale that's switching over ownership and it kind of changing into a new building too, but it's on a different scale. So things are interesting with work. I definitely have had my doubts about my decision because it's so hard to learn something new. But I think you gotta, and this is probably a good lesson for dads. You gotta really put everything into something and give it a certain time frame before you deem it a pass or a fail. I think after like 30 days, I was ready to just completely bail. It had made my life a living hell, honestly. Trying to learn something so different and so stressful and dealing with ineptitude from the person before me and the people before me, something I didn't understand, new hours that I didn't like, a further commute, spending more time with my kids, which ironically is a transition in itself. When you don't have them all the time and you think about, hey, I love my kids, but man, that's a lot when you got, when I'm seeing them most of my time and they're awake, it's you really get the stress of two toddlers and what that actually is. And
it's a blessing and a curse, man. I always struggle to like explain that to the dads that are like, I wish I could, be home every night and spend all that time with my kids. And I'm like, yeah, man, but it'll wear your ass out at some point. I mean, when it's good, it's good, but when it's bad, it's really bad. If you're just stressed the F out and then you come home to a kid who's just having the worst friggin' day of their life, whether they're sick or whatever it is, throwing temper, it's totally a blessing and a curse. I'm glad you said that.
Three times sick.
No one wants to be away from their kids, but there's not a single dad out there that hears their wife say, "Oh, I'm going to take the kids. You take off and do whatever you want." That is ever disappoined by that statement. So,
no, but that's a trick,
or we rarely hear that anyway. Yeah, it is. She comes home with a new fucking puppy or a 16-pound rabbit. That's what happened here.
Well, I can attest to that. I work from home, and recently my wife made a career change, so she's doing the same thing. So now it's all three of us here in the house. And Jasper, I tell you, he's becoming more of a daredevil. He's climbing shit like a damn chimpanzee. Gosh, it's terrifying because I see him. He climbed my entertainment center the other day, and he started dancing I thought I was going to fall and break his neck. It's insane.
Sometimes you got to learn the hard way, man. Maybe not break your neck, but sometimes you got to get a couple boo-boos to realize choices have consequences.
My son is a walking Band-Aid.
Yeah. Emerson was a little Wreck-It Ralph, man. He would just run into shit, trip over shit, and he'd just get up like, I'm good. Keep on going. And we're like, all right. Looked like it hurt, but as long as you're good. Giggling about it. Well, that's good, man. I'm glad to hear. Not about the stressful work situation, but that you got to take some time to collect your thoughts and do all that. But so it sounds like that was a pretty rough kind of trial by fire, and they just kind of threw you in the deep end and
so
hope
bad.
you get doggy paddle.
So bad. I'm used to. Well, I mean, my last job in car sales was kind of like that, but I already had a background. I knew how to sell cars, so I was like, okay,
you had the core skills.
Yeah, you don't want to give me any training or anything like that. That's cool. I'll just do what I was doing and kind of make it my own with this brand. But this is, they just throw you in there. I'm the only person that does my job, so there's nobody there. And the guy who had the job before me was gone for probably 3 months when I came in. So they don't have like and actually what I'm learning to appreciate about it is that they are a shit show, and that actually leaves a void and an opportunity for me to bring all the things I've learned from all the different jobs I've had, not just sales, because that's a different animal. But I mean, I worked in biotech at a very big corporation that had an SOP for how you go and take a shit. I mean, so this is a company that lacks organization at every level. They need standard operating procedures for everything. They need protocols and training, basically from scratch. And it's funny because it is a big company that bought two small companies, and they're just trying to piece it all together, but there's nothing there. So as much as that has made my life very difficult, now I just as I get deeper into the weeds of it and get a feel for what I think the job is, I can start to look around and be like, yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement in all phases. And if that means that I have to do those things, or at least help you do those things, then that just makes me more valuable and gives me an opportunity in the company. But it depends on how they take that too, because a lot of people left when the new ownership came in. I don't know why. They didn't have any rules to follow. They weren't doing
that fucking
shit.
happens, man. That's what I'm going through now. I mean, most of the people that have jumped ship have already jumped ship, but now we're getting into the thick of the actual merging of the two companies, and we just got our official, they're not offer letters, but it's your kind of your total pay package letters and all that shit. And there's a bunch of people up in arms about that stuff, and some of us don't even. Their org chart is so fucking wacky, man. You couldn't understand it if you tried. So they're trying to figure out who made the decisions, what criteria it was based on. Because, like, for instance, I'm ticked off because I'm at a level where I look at it and it's like 4 years of experience below my level. So I reached out to my manager and I'm like, the fuck, like, how am I at the pay? The weird thing is the pay is where it should be. So I'm kind of like, is this just some weird ass org chart? And I really shouldn't look at the years of experience tied to this level. But he gave me the like, oh, well, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and we'll talk about it when I'm in the office. Like, a bunch of bullshit. But a lot of people aren't happy right now because we just got those, and I'm sure there are already people on the fence that are about to head out probably after the new year. But it's been a shit show, and my wife's like, I think you should leave, and I'm like, well, I haven't seen any major red flags that are worthy of leaving yet, so I'm just kind of floating along, seeing what happens. But the exact shit you said is the reason I haven't really started looking anywhere either. I'm not opposed to change. It's just uncomfortable for me. I don't like having to learn new ways to do things, new routines, new standards, and all that shit. So I'm just kind of being complacent for now.
That's part of it. I mean, it's kind of interesting when you really break down what every company's dealing with right now, because everybody I talk to on the phone is in a role that they've had for 30 seconds. And it's very scary. It's very scary. Yeah. It feels like that's what's going on everywhere, because people, like, I think we very much have an instinct to jump ship. And I get it. I get because I've done it. And I get leveraging your skill set to make more money, and they force that. But it's kind of wild how easy I had that in the back of my mind. Like, oh man, I don't like this. Like, maybe I made a big mistake. Maybe I got to go back. Maybe I got to try something else. To the point where, I don't even know who listens to this show that I know from work, but I took an interview somewhere else. I really did. But ultimately, I think at a certain point you got to try to just give it a really long runway before you make a big decision on a job, because you can't judge something in a short period of time. And
debatable. There's some really bad red flags that you could come across. I've seen that happen, but
and I get everybody's different. Everybody's different. For me, I don't want to. I think it's a weird thing in my head where it's like, all right, if I just go and move on now, then that's admitting defeat. When I told myself and everybody else that I wanted a new challenge, it's like, well, this is a real challenge. Like, this is very. This is something harder than I've done in the past. So it's like, so if I just make a quick jump, then that's basically not overcoming that particular challenge. So I think follow through is big when you're a dad, when you're a man, when you're taking on a job or trying to get better at anything you do, a new hobby. Follow through is huge. I didn't follow through on so many things when I was younger, and no more time for that shit now. That's not happening again. So, whether you're trying to learn an instrument or something, I don't know. I think that
was an interesting point. That comes up a lot in posts where I usually see it when some dad's asking about, I think I'm ready to start my own business. And usually one of their big questions is like, or concerns is that they're scared to fail. And I see a lot of dads will chime in and they've kind of been in those shoes, and they make this interesting point that being a dad won't allow you to fail. You just have this weird inner drive just to succeed because you have to, right? You have a family to take care of and provide for, and I think that's just part of the nature of the beast of being a man, is that you have this interesting drive when shit really hits the fan, and it's either get it done or your family's going to suffer. You have this weird inner mental stability you can find and just kind of force your way through rough patches, things like career changes and stuff like that. I always see that come up, and I'm like, that sounds great in theory, and I believe it, but it's not, I don't think everybody's just like, well, I can't fail. I'll go out. It's fine. I'll go out and do what I said I was going to do. It'll be fine. It's still scary for sure.
But I know it sounds cheesy as hell, but I think that the statement, "You only fail if you quit," I think that rings true. I mean, much to what you were saying already, Jason, is at 30 days you were already kind of at that point where you're ready to.
Yeah.
But it's still early. I mean, you're gonna face challenges no matter how experienced you are. It's just how you adapt to them, and you've already conquered one of those challenges. Yeah. So,
and what you learn from it too. I mean, you could fail your ass off and completely tank and bomb out, but if you learn something from it, you didn't entirely fail. There's still a positive you can take away from it and continue to push forward with and keep in the back of your mind for future experiences.
Yeah, there's like a Babe Ruth quote. I don't know if it's really actually a Babe Ruth quote, but it's my favorite mantra. for him. And I always try to look at people who are like the best at what they did at their point in time. But it's whatever version of it you want to take. It's hard to beat a person who never gives up. It's hard to lose. It's hard to lose if you never quit, because you didn't lose yet. It's not finished. Game's not over. So it's hard to beat somebody that doesn't give up if they just keep coming at you, like a Rocky type of thing, where that look in the first Rocky that Apollo gives him when he gets up that last time, where it's like what the heck? What do I have to do to knock your ass out, man? Like, damn, that's just that you will always have a puncher's chance if you never give up. I think that's just.
I think kids lack that drive these days. I don't.
1,000%. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it in interns. It's I don't really have any advice for how to instill that in your kid either, other than to just teach them good work ethic and follow through. But man, like interns we see and the younger kids that are in the workforce, it's not there. And I think some of it is because that generation there's a whole thing going around right now where everybody's like, don't pour your heart into your work because, you're just a number at the end of the day, and your coworkers aren't there to be your family. Your boss isn't your family or your friend. They're like, go work, collect your paycheck. And I think this generation takes that to heart. Like they're there to collect a paycheck and then to go on and carry on with their carefree lives. And I think the older generations in the workforce are, dedicated to providing a good product, good work, a strong work ethic. It's an interesting kind of clash of the two titans, at least in my industry, when you see it. And it's very frustrating to, you put in the extra time, you put in the extra effort with clients, and then you see these younger kids that just, come in and do their 8 hours and leave and squeak by with the bare minimum. And, you kind of hope that you'll stand out in that crowd and be recognized for that extra effort. But I mean, it's anybody's guess if that really falls on deaf ears or if you're really noticed. I mean, obviously your boss or whoever should share their appreciation for that. But it can be frustrating when you see work like that getting kudos over, a higher level of work and standard.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the trick is to just outshine those charismatic lazy people, because even a lazy person can get noticed. They can be charismatic.
Yeah.
You just have to.
I don't even know that it's outshining though, right? Because it's not like a goal. It's not that you want to prove you're better than someone. It's just a state of being. That's the level you've come to understand and provide.
You're right. But it is disheartening to. So say you are working with a team, of 5 people, and no one on that team puts nearly the work that you put in, and you feel like you're carrying the team. Then I mean, it could be something as simple as a promotion. It could be, just people feel they feel resentful, and then they just bail out. Much like we said. So I mean, that kind of mindset can affect everybody. Now, to a further note, I'll say that type of attitude only reflects badly on the individual putting that out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like to say I'm a jack of all trades, but a master at nothing. So, I just try to go in there, no matter what I'm doing. I take pride in my work. I think every man should. And if you want your children to have that same mindset, I mean, it's a learned behavior. You have to model that behavior for your children to pick that up. So.
You got something, Nick? I see the hamster wheel going.
Well, I think that it is hard these days. In 1991, right, when you lived in a small town and your source of news was the newspaper that you got on Sundays, and your options were work in the gas station or do nothing. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, you work in the gas station. You're a person in town. You mean something to the town. Now you're so connected that you know what some dude in Saudi Arabia is doing right now, with his life, driving around in his Lamborghini, with some hot chick, and you got to slog your ass down to the gas station, and you're supposed to be happy that you're walking around at the gas station and spending 12 hours doing a shift where greasy, smelly truckers are coming in and wiping their ass, and you got to go clean the bathroom because they took a piss everywhere all over the thing. And
It's a very
you have such a
picturesque
connection to the
situation.
outside world.
Yes. I can see myself in
It's
this
not. It's, I mean, like,
shit-covered bathroom
it's
stall.
really not, though. I mean, that seems fairly common, right? Go into a gas
Painting
station
a picture.
bathroom and it's nasty as shit.
Yeah.
But who wants to clean it? And who wants to take pride in cleaning it, especially when you get on the internet and see that some asshole is driving around in a Ferrari in Italy or wherever with whoever it is. So, I do think, I think two things. One, I think that it's always the younger generation is always going to be the one who's not going to be working as hard as the older generation. I think that that's always going to be the case. Do I think that it's more prevalent now? Probably. But I think the reasons for that are just the connection to the world, and there's a general lack of mystery to the world anymore, right? That there's really nothing out there that hasn't been discovered within the sphere that is, the Earth. We know where all the islands are. We know where all the treasure's buried. There's nothing. There's no mystery, and so I don't know how much we can expect a 20-year-old to be excited about going into work and doing 8 hours of stuff for middling pay and really putting pride into that work when they get to see other 20-year-olds not doing that every second of every day. And so I don't know if that's a solvable problem, or if I don't think that that's necessarily an excuse or that I think it's a good or a bad thing. I just, I in a world where depression is a far more common, more and more common thing that's occurring in everyone, I get it, I guess, is my point, right? So like it's hard. It's hard to be excited about going to do fire sales, going to talk to some person on, with an IT problem who the answer is unplug the fucker and plug it back in. But, you have to talk to them like they're a baby because they'll get pissed off at you if you ask them that question, right? Or
that was Jason's problem.
Whatever it is, it's hard. It's hard to get up for that if you're not in the realm of having an exciting life outside of it.
Well, but that said, I mean, basically, to some degree, what you described was jealousy.
Yeah.
No. I mean, maybe not to that specific point, but you're talking about somebody seeing somebody on social media. I'll tell you what chaps my ass is seeing that everybody is now calling themselves an influencer. I think that's retarded. I mean, sometimes just getting out of the house and doing some actual hard work is not a bad thing. But, it just, a kid goes online and they see something that somebody else has and they're just envious. Well, we don't know the circumstances of every individual flaunting that shit around. So you don't know what they had to do to put, to obtain that Ferrari or Lamborghini or whatever have you.
With the internet, you do most of the time, though.
No, you know what that individual tells you.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
Unless you're just deep diving into somebody's finances and shit like that. I mean, and I'm not saying that's not possible, but
yeah,
at the same time, as far as that's concerned, you only know what said individual tells you. They can tell you, oh, they got it doing this, but did they? I mean, is that really what they had to do to acquire that? Was it daddy's money that they had to get it for them, or did they actually go out there and work their ass off to get it? But a lot of it, to me, a lot of it comes from lack of, fathers in the household teaching a good work ethic. I think men, as there have been a whole lot of upticks in different phenomena in society, I think men have found more reasons to try and step out, and you hear about single parent households, and most commonly those are homes without the dads. So I blame a lot of it on single parent households. That young men don't have a model to look to see how a man is supposed to go out there and provide for his family or improve his career. I can say that specifically about myself because I made a lot of piss poor decisions. I jumped ship a lot sooner than I did on a lot of different jobs. That's because I didn't have a stern dad figure in my life to say, this is how it's supposed to be done, and then show me how that's done. So I just kind of had to learn it the hard way. And now I'm playing catch up. I'm 10 to 15 years behind. I could have already been in a much better position than I'm in now if I'd have made the decisions that I'm making now 10 or 15 years ago. I saw something that somebody else had and I wanted it, and I tried to find quick ways to obtain it and fell on my face. So here I am, still renting a home. So I mean, a lot of it's just, I do blame, men stepping out on families, on their kids.
Yep.
I think it's a learned behavior.
I agree with that. I'm fortunate that I had parents who, instilled work ethic and it wasn't a broken home. There's not a lot of people that have that. It's a lot of kids don't have that gift of stability. So I think what you're saying is true. But I can't speak to it directly, but I see it in people that I meet. But I wanted to bring up a point back to what Nick was saying about the gas station versus Saudi Arabia, and then you brought up, JT, something like, is that jealousy or envy or whatever? To me, something that I learned, that I probably learned in high school and then forgot, and then something that I've learned recently, from a philosophical standpoint. So like Socrates had an idea about life where you're working. Some people focus on personal success being defined as, having a family or work success or personal success, whatever their definition of it. His thing was that the idea of working on yourself, and your only goal should be to be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. Every day you can just work on that. The unexamined life isn't worth living, whatever that idea is. It's basically, you want to keep yourself as the focal point, because you can't control what's happening outside of that. You can't, in some level you could try to look backwards and control why you're here, why you don't have the accomplishments that you should, why you haven't gotten to this point faster, why you're working this job and this guy has this advantage that he doesn't deserve, which is outside of your control. Big thing for me, big thing that should be for every dad that listens to this show or not. All you can really do is just be better tomorrow and better in like 5 minutes from now than you were before that. So work on you, have a personal examination over and over, and just try to keep getting better. It sounds like, JT, you have gotten way better at being JT. You know, no matter what the failings or successes are, you're getting better every day, and there's no like time limit or like no one says you have to have your own house at a certain age. Or I mean, some people rent just because they like having different scenery every like couple of years, like whatever.
Oh yeah.
But
no, I'm just saying. And please, by no means, gentlemen, am I trying to say that the way my life turned out, that I'm saying that my experiences were any more difficult than somebody even with two parents in the household. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that I didn't have that father figure in my life for me to emulate. So I wound up having to jump in the deep end on my own before learning how to swim, and I made a lot of bad decisions. I do not hold anyone accountable but myself in regards to that. I was an ignorant kid, made a lot of bad decisions. So yeah, like I said, I don't want y'all to think that I'm trying to say that my socioeconomic status in life, contributed to that. No, it's decisions that I made based on one root thing, and it's common, it's prevalent, is fathers not being in the home. So that's why I say that, because the work ethic that we're all discussing, this is emulated behavior. This is if someone sees their dad who goes in day out to work hard for his family. I'm not saying it's always the case, but it is more likely that child is going to grow up and see that's how a man's supposed to do it.
It's interesting you say that, though, because if you want to see a hard-working dad, find a dad in the trades. But the trades are fucking dying, man.
I agree.
And that's a fucking shame, because there's a lot of kids that don't want to pay for college. And if you want a good paying job that does not require a degree, it's the fucking trades. But I mean, I don't work in the trades, obviously, but we work closely with them. And that's all we hear from general contractors, man, is people are not going into the trades anymore. And a lot of the old salty dogs that are what we talked about, where, hard work ethic, stand by their product, stand by their work, are retiring and getting out. And it's kind of a scary place, man, when you think about it. When me being in the industry I am, the trades run the world. Without them, we would not have half of the things we do. And people don't really realize that. And it's kind of a scary thing, is that that's happening. And I couldn't tell you why that's happening, but it's just very scary. And that's interesting that you say, look at a hardworking dad, and the kids will kind of mimic. And I know you said that's not always the case. But it's I don't know if it's kids see their parents in the trades and how much it tears a guy up to do, hard manual labor all day, every day for your life until you retire. I don't know if that's it. I don't know if it's the stigma that society has carried for a long time around the trades, and how, you don't want to be the guy throwing trash on a dump truck, or you don't want to be the plumber, or the, whatever it is. I don't know if that's just finally stuck and become the norm to kind of look at it that way. But that's another scary piece.
That's exactly it. Because I grew up, and I'll be 100% honest with this, I grew up knowing that auto mechanics were losers, right? If you were an auto mechanic, you were a loser. That was my mindset. If that wasn't my mindset, because that's true, hell, man, I find, like I've said on this podcast before, I think auto mechanics should run the fucking world.
Yeah. Well, you're seeing them make a turn. I mean, you pay a pretty penny now to go to, especially a dealership service center. Because they're just kind of tired.
There's not an auto mechanic I've talked to who's not like one of the more reasonable, well-minded people I've ever met.
Yeah.
I mean, they understand what they do. They do really intricate work.
Common sense,
may be
logic. I mean, all that.
Exactly. And us, fucking high thinkers are really kind of useless pieces of shit most of the time.
Dude, I know people with
at the
multiple
end of the day,
degrees and doctorates that can't change their own damn oil. Making, hand and fist over a mechanic, but relies on that mechanic to get to work to make that paycheck. And it's kind of a sad thing.
Right. So I grew up with this, but it was a learned thing, right? Like I everything in school from the day I was in kindergarten until the day I graduated college was you go to college.
Go to college. Get a degree.
The only way to get ahead is go to college.
Yeah.
Go to college.
Yep.
Right. Or you're going to end up as an auto mechanic, or you're going to end up as a plumber, or you're going to like that's the insult, right? That you're going to end up as a tradesman if you don't go to college. It's like a negative. Right? And the conversation I have with my son all the time is Major, I don't give a shit, man. When you graduate, hell, go be an electrician for 4 or 5 years. Make a lot of money. You're gonna, as an especially in 15 years when he graduates high school, learn a trade, learn something useful. If after that 4 years you decide, hey, I'd like to go to college now, I have a thought or a process, hell yeah. Go to college, man. Be a doctor. Do whatever you want.
So with too. That's the thing. You can get into the trades and get paid while you learn. You're actively in the workforce.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people don't see that.
And it's a skill that you have.
A lot of community college carry cuddle type programs with those trades. So you can take your experience in the trade and apply it to various degrees. So you can get college credit for that work experience, and it's just not talked about. It's still
anytime I interview someone, a story of, hey, I worked for a few years, then I decided to go to college because I realized what I wanted to pursue, and now this is the job I'm applying for. It is far more credible than I went to college and went to law school because that's what I do. Right? Yeah. It's just like 7 years of college, and now I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
It's not
or
that that's
I have
a bad
degree
thing.
in something I absolutely have no intentions of pursuing as a career. So now I'm $60,000.
My biology degree is hanging out there, having a great time. Never used it a day in my life, right? And I could have used all of those 4 years to learn how to be a person without going to college and spending money, but actually earning money for it. So I'm a huge proponent in doing work in the trades, but it's just not being taught.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is a stigma. It's much like you said, Nick and Nick.
Nick and Nick.
I personally think that we all grew up with one goal in mind: going to school. As everything was, you had to go to college to be successful. That was it. That was our country, as our society, country, however you want to look at it, has pushed. Continue, an ongoing education, like, higher education as the end all be all to be a successful person in the world. And so I know some, much like you said with a mechanic, I know individuals in the trades that are some of the most down to earth, most intelligent people, versus somebody that's got a college degree. I mean, I've got a few degrees under my belt. I feel silly for having them. I may as well have a fucking degree in basket weaving for all because those certifications don't mean shit. I'm a certified chef, but I'm not doing anything with it. So what does that certification do? So it's like, man, especially if you're a young dad, go out there and work your ass off while you're young. And then decide what you want to do.
Because figure out what you don't want to do before you figure out what you do want to do. Because I don't know any kid that comes out of high school, even a few years out of high school, that is like, maybe there's a few kids that are dead set on knowing exactly what career they want to go into. But most kids started in general ed and kind of weaved their way into whatever career direction they were going. Yeah, it's tough, man. And I tell people that all the time. Like, our daughter didn't want to go into college. She wanted to do either police or the military, which we were like, fine, like, go do it. And now, like we talked about her last episode, I think, is she just kind of sitting on her ass, and it's it's painful to watch, but we're kind of like, if you don't want to listen to mom and dad's experience, like you're just going to have to fall on your face and learn a tough life lesson. Cause she's still in that phase where, we're just trying to push her somewhere. We're not offering her advice, even though everything we're sharing with her is the same stupid shit that we went through and how it affected us. But, stubborn young teenager just doesn't want to have it. So I don't know.
Parents don't know shit.
Exactly. And I can't blame her. I mean, I was the same way. I was a hard-headed asshole when I was that age. So I don't fault her for it. But at the same time, Jen and I are just kind of like, well, we're just going to stop pushing. And when you actually, we'll wait for you to come to us for advice so that it's not taken as us pushing you in a certain direction. And it's kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is.
I think that's a huge point. So I thought about it. If it's like the idea of a stigma behind a trade, I think that is definitely a cultural, societal thing that is put in your head. And then on the flip side, if you are a son or a daughter, which most people probably are when you break it right down, of somebody who works in a trade, and you have a dad who shows you that path and tries to explain to you that, hey, this is actually a much more stable thing. I was able to have a home. The trades are essential, and I'm not stupid. I do this job every day, and I put food on the table, and I make good money doing it, and it's essential. But to a kid, so you got two things tearing you back. So what you need is more like people in a school setting, an advisor or whatever that pushes trades. But I have a feeling that there's probably some deep-seated reasoning financially one way or the other that they're going to push you to go to college instead. And then on the flip side of that, the people that are telling you to go into the trades is probably your parents, and you don't want to fucking listen to them anyway.
Yeah.
So you got like the two things tearing at each other, and it takes you 10 years of foolishness and failure, which used to be a year or two. If we want to be real, our parents, if they said they didn't want to go to college, they didn't want to get into a trade, they just wanted to sit around and do jack shit, what would happen? They'd be kicked the fuck out. They'd be on their ass.
True. Very true.
But that was also sustainable. There was a solution to that problem. It used to be in the 80s and 70s and what have you that like you could go find somewhere to live and survive on some menial labor job and figure it the fuck out until 5 years later when you're like, I should have done that trade thing, or maybe I should have gone to college or whatever. Now it's literally you're kicking your kid out to real pain and homelessness because they can't afford anything anywhere. So you just keep them at your house, which is fine. I'm sure that's what I would do as well because you have to. And now they are coddled into a false sense of security there. They still don't like the idea of a trade because nobody told them in school that they should go do a trade. No, they don't want to go to college because some people were like, college is for losers too. They don't want to do what their parents told them to do because they don't want to listen to their parents. And now they have the luxury of just doing nothing for 5 or 10 years until
everybody's social media influence.
Well, the other problem is,
and they end up as an intern at a healthcare place, and they don't really want to do the fucking job, and we end up on a podcast bitching about it. And that's the circle.
The other thing is that the world moves 10 times faster than it did when we were kind of entering the workforce age. So what we could have dinked around and gotten by for 5 years, that's like the equivalent of 10 years now, and you're way further down the road when you finally hit that brick wall and you're like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? People they're getting so far into that phase of life before they realize it that it's damn near impossible to turn it around. And I think that's the other part of it. That shit's just kind of happening. But this was supposed to be a holiday episode. that was a good
everybody.
topic, though. I really like talking about it. But I'm gonna swing us back to the holidays real quick, and we'll have to circle back and do another episode kind of on this because it's a really interesting topic, and you can get a lot of really interesting viewpoints from different people. So we'll come back and visit it. But I don't want to forget the holidays because sometimes we forget the holiday episodes, and I don't want to miss the holiday ones. So, who's got something on Christmas holidays? I think we all in here are the celebrators of Christmas, unless I'm mistaken.
I mean, I'll be working, but I'm celebrating it the best way I can.
Yeah.
I suck at keeping shit a surprise. So, got my wife a nice, expensive gift, but unfortunately, there's no way to hide an expense to the degree that it was. So, she already knew what the hell it was before she got it. It's like, fuck it, here you go. And handed it to her.
Nice.
I suck at it. I mean, I'm an adult. I don't really need to open up a present or something like that. And Jasper's still young enough to, where it doesn't make him a difference. At most, wrap 2 or 3 things and let him rip the paper off and have a blast or something. But
as he gets older,
maybe.
I really relate to the dad in the Christmas Story on Christmas Day. Like, I think the stereotype of dads are just kind of like, they don't really want anything. They just want to see like other people opening shit. I don't know why, but that's me to a T. Like, I get bitched at every year by my wife and my mom because I don't give them a list of stuff. And part of that's because I'm a selfish asshole and I just buy shit throughout the year. Like if I need or want something, I just fucking buy it. So when Christmas comes around, I mean, anything that I would like want is just ridiculously, is probably too expensive or something I wouldn't want somebody to spend the money on anyway. But I really don't make a list. And so I'll kind of give them a couple little small things, but they get pissed. I don't give them anything. And I really just don't give a shit. Like, I'd rather watch like Jen and Emerson open a bunch of shit and see their excitement. And I know Jen feels the same way. Like, she just likes watching Emerson rip shit open and get excited about it. And that's kind of how that's how my Christmas is. Like, as long as they're happy, I don't really care. I could get all socks. I could get some underwear, like whatever. My Christmas is still going to be as enjoyable regardless of what I'm opening. I feel like that's a dad stereotype.
I tell my wife to just save the money for a 67 Pontiac Firebird later in life, and we'll just call that square. But we do. Ever since I was little, my grandparents would go to Texas for Christmas, so we always did Christmas at Thanksgiving, and we just kind of carried that forward into my adult life now that we have kids. So we do most of our Christmas stuff on Thanksgiving, open presents and things like that with the kids. So we'll have like some other presents here and whatnot on Christmas, but it's not like a big to do. It's more just let's hang out and enjoy the fact that we're not doing anything else today. Open a little bit of presents and then just chill in our pajamas and watch stupid movies all day.
What's that?
Yeah. I think Christmas is just an appreciation thing at this point. Because, again, going back to having the luxury of a normal, whatever you want to call normal, stable childhood where I go to, I can remember most of my Christmases being very happy, having the Santa Claus experience very late in my childhood because it was that was the life that was luckily created for me. But I think as I get older, you appreciate that your Christmases are different in terms of who's there every year. I mean, especially when you're in your, you got different phases. If you're in your 30s, if you're in your 40s, 50s, my parents in their 60s, the people that were at my Christmas when I was Russell, my son, he's going to be 3 in like under a month here. The people that were at those Christmases, it's about half the roster. I mean,
yeah,
a lot of those people are gone. They're dead. I mean, not you know what I mean when I say they're gone. I don't want to be that they're not around anymore. And so as I look back on that, I mean, I do appreciate my own kids, and that's really what it's about, watching them experience it. And that's what it's about for everybody, really. You look at like aunts, uncles, grandparents, and parents, you know, they're appreciating the new blood and the kids and their experiences of and seeing their eyes light up and making that a good experience for them. But sometimes I look outward at the older people, and like my grandparents are still luckily here, but they are not in good shape here. They have a lot of problems, and they are you know, I don't know how many more Christmases I have with each of them. So many Christmases with great aunts, uncles. I mean, I even met some of my great grandparents. Like that crowd has dispersed. So I try to appreciate that when you have Christmas, even if it is stressful with family, because you don't know how many more Christmases you have with anybody at any age. So I think if you can appreciate family, that's probably all you can do at Christmas. That's the best thing you could do, but outside of gifts and stuff like that.
Dude,
Yeah, I will say to that because every year for Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving, Christmas, people start to fight and they're like, well, where do we have it? What do we do? Are we going to do it this year? Where should we go? And I'm like, look, I don't really give a fuck what y'all want to do. My kids and I are going to their great grandparents' house, or we're going to see their great grandparents, and they're going to hang out with them, and that's what we're doing. And if y'all would like to join us wherever and however you want to do that, I don't really care. And then always, every year it gets figured out. And so, we're like, oh, let's do this one and you can do this bullshit. And it's just like, I don't care about the hoopla. I'm not there for the gifts. That's not why I'm doing this, right? It's for the fact that, like, my kids have pictures with their great grandparents, right? Yeah. And they're going to have time spent with their great grandparents, playing Scrabble with their great grandma, or playing shuffleboard this year with their great grandpa and whatnot. And it's the thing growing up. I never met any of my great grandparents. I don't think a lot of people did. I never met my grandma on my dad's side. And so, these are just things that they're not gonna. Those are irreplaceable things. They don't remember what damn stuffed animal they got 5 years ago, but they're gonna have time spent with their great grandma and their great grandpa, and that is. And my great grandpa's got, kidney failure. He's on dialysis. So the clock is ticking. And who knows? To your point, Jason, how many more there are going to be? And so, we got this one in, and that next year, hopefully we'll get the next one in, and then that's kind of where I'm at with it. And the presents are there, and that's great, and the kids get excited about it. But that's the window dressing around the real reason that I'm there.
So you
want to hear something cheesy? Yeah. So, I told you that, I've recently gotten involved, getting my biological dad and I, we've gotten kind of close. Well, financially, traveling is not at the forefront of everybody's, Christmas itinerary or something like that. So, so last week was my birthday, and then the day before that was my baby sister's birthday. Well, my son, he loves his pappy and everything like that. So what we do is we'll video call quite regularly. I do that for a number of reasons. Primarily is if whenever Pappy is able to come and see him, Pappy's not a stranger to him. You know what I'm saying? It's a familiar face. But I went and got some cupcakes so that we could have birthday cake with my baby sister. I sent her a gift and got to watch her open up her birthday gifts. And technology, it's a blessing and a curse, but I'm able to spend time with my family. I've gotten my great grandmother into it. She's very, very old, so it's not going to be much longer that have her around. And she lives in Washington State. So getting over that way is a little bit more difficult. So we're able to video call with her. And then I've got, my wife's dad and mom who, mom lives in Georgia. Jasper gets to see his grandmother pretty regularly, and we try to make that happen. And obviously, we try and get together, but I'd say technology does allow you to spend time with family in ways that people, 10, 20 years ago didn't think possible. So, yeah.
Well, that's Nick, you kind of hinted on it. Well, I guess you didn't really hint on it, but you and Jason kind of talked about the positives of Christmas for everybody. And I saw, for whatever reason, it reminded me of a post I saw earlier, and it was a dad that was kind of expressing that like he was at his rock bottom, man, and the reason was because he's like, I had to tell my kids that Christmas isn't going to be crazy this year, and he basically had to explain that they didn't have the money. And I mean, this time of year, I think people take it for granted sometimes that they can go out and do all the celebrations and spend all the crazy money on gifts and buy the expensive toys that the kids want. And I mean, if that's what makes you happy and that's what your family does, like, I'm not knocking that. It's nice. But my heart went out to that guy, and I couldn't think. I was like, man, what the fuck do I tell this guy? And my response was I think you kind of hinted on it, Nick. It was that my response was to go find like the local events that are free, the local holiday events and stuff. And I said, dude, just make the time to be with your kids and family, because 20 years from now, nobody's going to remember what the fuck they opened in the Christmas of 2024. I think I maybe have two very fond Christmas memories of when I got like the gift that are still like very prevalent in my mind. And so that was my advice to him, like, figure out something that you can do that's togetherness. Because those memories are going to be a lot longer lasting than what the kids open. And so for us, it's Christmas is, we try to keep it a time of tradition. So since I was a kid, we always get together Christmas Eve with my mom's side of the family. Most of my dad's side is up in New York, so that's a little tougher. But we've done that since my sister and I were born. And to this day, we still get together with most of that side of the family. And so that's like our tradition, is we all get together Christmas Eve. And we used to get, everybody would buy a gift for every kid. And that got a little crazy because there's so many kids now in the family. So now we each chip in like we get like a $5 gift card somewhere, and we put it in a bag for each of the kids, and the kids kind of get a little gift bag of shit to open and stuff. But we try to keep that as like the tradition, and we've got some other holiday traditions. I mean, we go to the local parade every year, which is, I mean, if you want to call it a tradition, it feels like a tradition for us because it's something we all do together. And then we try to go out and drive around and see all the local Christmas lights and stuff. So for me, yeah, it's like you guys said, it's I don't give a shit what's getting open. It's just more about the quality time you get to spend that you don't always get throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah. I think you hit on it when you said, and bear with me, I'm going to try to keep it together when I tell this whole story. But so you don't remember gifts. You don't really remember specific ones, maybe a couple here and there. Your kids aren't going to really remember that. So I remember one gift, and the only reason I remember it, sadly, is because I remember it as a great gift, and I remembered it as a kid, and even as I got older, I still have it. It was my first like football jersey. It was Drew Bledsoe that my aunt got me, in 1990. Geez, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, whatever it was. But the reason I remember it now is because I had to give, she passed away, and I had to give her eulogy, and I mentioned that gift, that remembering that how important and how great the jersey was, but reflecting on that, in hindsight, the gift was not the jersey. The gift was like the limited time that I had with my aunt, that she's not here anymore. So that's the only gift I really remember. Maybe your kids will be the same way. Like, they'll remember the pictures, the time, events. I'd never gone to this, my parents' town. They did like the church did the nativity, and they turned on the lights for the nativity or whatever. I'm not really a church going person, but it was a big center of town thing. My son was the smallest kid there, and they like recruited him out of the little crowd of kids, and they had him he tried. He didn't really do a great job of it, but they told him, "You're the smallest. You can put the baby Jesus in the nativity scene or whatever." And he tried. I know I'll remember that without like question. I'll always remember that, and that was completely free, spur of the moment thing I did, with my kids. So yeah, if you can't afford to get your kids gifts, take them somewhere.
Dude, it's $10 to drive around and find all the Christmas lights you can find. $10 in gas, and that's super memorable. I mean, we pass the same houses of lights every damn night, and Emerson's just as excited as he was the first night that house turned him on. I mean, there's a million and one things you can do, and Google it. It's painful to see posts like that. It just makes me really thankful for the life my family and I have, and the friends and family that we have with us. It's a bittersweet time of year, because there's people struggling out there, and I mean, personally, as a family, I think we could do a better job volunteering or adopting. I don't know if you guys have Christmas angels where you are. But you can go, a lot of the malls and stores have basically a tree, and you kind of adopt a family, and there's a couple items for the kids on the list, and there's a couple things that parents want. But if you really want to be humbled, go grab one of those. And I mean, mom and dad's ask for things like sheets for the bed, dude. And the kids are asking for like such little simplistic gifts, but to them, those are like fucking everything. And it's very humbling to see what these people will put on a list and what they hold as important to them or a necessity. And if you really want to, do something this time of year that's going to really drive home the point of the season, it's getting one of those Christmas tree angels and adopting a family, or donating canned goods somewhere, whatever you can do. But I mean, I think personally our family can do a better job of that. But it's a good time of year other than that for us, and I just like to chill. And I was talking with JT before you guys popped on about vacation time, and luckily it's a little slow this time of year, and we all kind of we typically save, a week to be able to take off kind of from Christmas to the end of the year, which is nice, and just kind of unwind before the ramp up back into 2025 and all that chaos. But
I can't wait. I'm off Monday through the 6th, and nice. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'll say this to add to the humbling experience. Become a firefighter.
Yeah.
And check your smoke alarms if you need testing.
For the Lord.
Hashtag not a sponsor, but Bing the Fire guy.
I responded to a house fire. And it was pretty heartbreaking. We call Christmas time fire season because people are using maybe less than safe ways to heat their homes. Being maybe being a little neglectful in regards to a fireplace, whether it's just watching the fire or maintaining the fireplace. But we responded to a house fire that was a complete and total loss for a family. And right around Christmas time, it's pretty humbling. I mean,
that's rough.
Just no matter how blessed you may be, it's pretty. I mean, it'll shake you to your core to see how quickly something can just take it all away. So be thankful for what you got, whether that be family, and just be thankful for the time that you've got. Be thankful for what you do have, and just if you're a praying individual, whatever you do, pray. Just thank God for the blessings that you've got, for the ones that you're gonna receive, because you're gonna everybody here, as dads, we all face the hardships around holidays, whether it be work slows down, finances get rough, but just be thankful for what you got. Keep your loved ones close.
Right on. Well,
Good.
Yeah. Well, everyone out there, I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Is it Happy Kwanzaa or Merry Kwanzaa? Happy Hanukkah. Whatever you guys celebrate out there, we hope you find some time to get together with friends and family, and enjoy this time of year. Keep the stress level low. Don't compete with the Joneses. Just do your thing. Anyways, I think we'll have one more episode. We're gonna have a special episode that'll release after this, before the end of the year. And so I don't think we'll have to do a New Year's episode probably after the start of the New Year's. But Happy New Year. Happy holidays to you guys out there. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Like and subscribe. Check out the Facebook group. Eventually we'll get the Instagram and all that rolling. But come and hang out with us in the Facebook group, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.